Hello and welcome to another Studio Takes, kind of a two-tiered thing today. My name is Dane Scott.
He's the dummy. I'm the one pulling the strings.
Now wait just a second.
What's happening?
Well, what's happening with you, Pocket Frog? Good to have you with me, and welcome to everybody who's watching and listening today on YouTube and through the podcasts. So stick around. We're going to be talking about how to do a creative version of some famous quotes. Famous quotes is actually a genre you could find yourself doing some of. So it's a good thing to know how to do. And there's a lot of fun that you can have with it. So we're going to cover that. And then if you stick around past that, I'm going to give you a video preview of Head Slapper 4 that I think will make it kind of clear why it's a good idea. So stick around for both of those coming up next on Studio Takes.
Studio Takes. Real help for the aspiring voiceover artist and Fiverr entrepreneur.
One of the things that's fun about doing famous quotes is that they tap into a lot of different parts of the brain. They require you to really think about what you're saying while you're recording. It also requires you to think about the motivation and the era in which the person who said it lived, what their personality was like, if you have any kind of a clue about that, maybe where they're from, in case you want to kind of lean your voiceover in one direction or another toward a particular accent or brogue. Their age, some would be younger when they said them, some would be older. Their position in life. So a lot of those kind of things can drive the way you say each quote, and that makes it really fun. And even if you can't incorporate all of those things like an expert, the more of it that you can do, the more interesting and the more professional your end result is going to be. I don't claim to be the world's greatest expert at this stuff, but I do enjoy doing it. And since I'd gotten an order like that today, I thought that it might be fun to get together and do a little bit on these famous quotes. Toward the end today, I'm going to give you a whole video. Must be at least 3 minutes long, about Newton's apple, the Head Slapper 4 video, which is making me a lot of money on Fiverr. It is, of all of the head slappers that I offer, the one that I would practically beg everybody to get, because it really, really does. It needs to be in everybody's hands. You need to know this information. It absolutely will make you more on Fiverr. And it also is part of a bundle, so you can get it along with the other head slappers. So anyway, we'll talk about that coming up, but I don't want to belabor that right now. The main point of this today is to do quotes. And there are two different kinds of quotes that we're going to cover. One of them we're looking at right now, and those are those little shorties, the little quickies like this. They're quotes from people who have been successful in life in one way or another, which we tend to kind of always turn our heads toward, the ones that we want to emulate, the ones that we want to imitate, the ones that we want to get inspiration from are those who have been successful in some way. And so a lot of famous quotes come from famous people or from people who have made a name for themselves in certain areas, whether that be in philosophy or in religion or in politics or in money making. A lot of times it comes down to, who's gotten rich. And those are the ones that they quote. But it's not all that. All right. So in some cases, it's philosophers. Sometimes it's famous authors or humorists who have their own take on life. So there are lots of different angles, not only in terms of the people and their background and where they're coming from, but also in what the subject matter is about. And so what I want to do is to read a few of these. Don't worry about profitability. If you do your job well, sooner or later, profitability will appear by itself. Bernard Arnault. No matter what you come up with, there's always someone who's already done it before you. So the important thing is to do it better. Adriano Celentano. Before you climb the ladder of success, make sure it's leaned against the wall of the building you want. Stephen Covey. A person who has never made a mistake, never tried anything new. Albert Einstein. It is better to act ineptly than to tread perfectly in place. Thomas Edison. It's okay to make mistakes. It is important to be wrong about something new every time. Elon Musk. There's only one way to do great work. Love it. Steve Jobs. Nothing in the world can replace perseverance. There's no substitute for talent. You don't meet anyone as often as you meet a talented loser. There is no substitute for genius. Unrecognized geniuses have almost become a proverb. Education alone is not enough either. The world is full of educated outcasts. Only persistence and determination are all-powerful. The phrase, keep working, was and still is the solution to all the problems of the human race. Calvin Coolidge. Okay, so with that one, try to put a little of that political spin, the early, the turn of the century, the previous century, they tended to have a kind of a speechifying way of speaking, so trying for that. Always, always choose the hardest path. On it, you will meet no competition. Charles de Gaulle, who was a general. In my career, I've missed more than 9,000 goals. I lost almost 300 games. 26 times I was trusted to make the decisive shot, and I missed. My whole life, I've been losing over and over and over. And that's why I succeeded. Michael Jordan. You can say you have bad genetics, bad metabolism, or you can just get off your butt on the couch. You can just get your butt off the couch and start working on yourself. Set a goal and believe in yourself. In that case, you're bound to succeed. Arnold Schwarzenegger. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Mark Twain. So with the humorist, putting a little more lilt into it, I'm sorry that my Arnold isn't better. But like I said, what it's doing is it's drawing on all these different parts of your brain at the same time. You're multitasking. You're trying for the energy, the enthusiasm, the seriousness, the meaning, the philosophy, the profit of the message or the benefit of the message to the person who's hearing it. You're trying not to go too fast because you don't want these messages to get lost. If you breeze over them too fast without enough pausing, it's hard for the brain of the person who's listening to completely register the thought behind the message. So there's some pausing in there for thought. But at the same time, you need to make it sound like a real person. So if you go too slowly, then it starts to lose that naturalness. So there are a lot of moving parts, as they say. Dream great things. Only great dreams have the power to touch people's souls. Marcus Aurelius. So, when I was doing these for real, I did not go quite as far with these. I think that what a person can do is to just kind of lean their voice in one direction or another. You're just basically like if you could picture leaning your body, you're kind of leaning your voice toward a character. So when I'm doing these examples here, what I'm doing is exaggerating them a little more than I would when I'm actually recording them, because I want to kind of show you the directions that we're trying to go with this. Being the richest man in the cemetery doesn't bother me. Going to bed at night saying we've done something wonderful, that's what matters to me. Steve Jobs. So what I did in this case was I was just talking to you. And I was just kind of going on about this and that, and then I just dropped into reading the quote because I feel like in this case, this would just, Steve Jobs would be the guy that would just kind of talk the way he talks, So when I fell into it, I didn't change the way I was talking at all. I just moved over into actually that can be a pretty good way to kind of get yourself in the right groove for doing a conversational read, and we'll do more on that at some point. So those are all like individual quotes, just shorties. Now, just for contrast, there are also quotes that are more like stories. They're still intended to be inspirational. So I've got a couple of inspirational stories here. These came from the same client. The ones I was just reading came from an older order. This is from an order that I received yesterday and just recorded this morning. And there are two stories here. I'm going to play each and then I'll talk about it a little bit. Here's the first one. One day, Buddha was walking through a village. A very angry and rude young man came up and began insulting him, hurling all kinds of rude words at him. intending to ridicule and demean him. The Buddha was not upset by these insults. Instead, he asked the young man, "Tell me, if you buy a gift for someone, and that person does not take it, to whom does the gift belong?" The young man was surprised to be asked such a strange question and answered, "It would belong to me because I bought the gift." The Buddha smiled and said, "That is correct, and it is exactly the same with your anger. If you become angry with me, and I do not get insulted, then the anger falls back on you. You are then the only one who becomes unhappy, not me. All you have done is hurt yourself." Okay, so there's an example of how we could do something that has kind of that Eastern flair, but without it trying to sound Oriental, so to speak. Truck going by. Okay, it's storytelling. We're definitely trying to change the voice from one character to the next, plus the narrator. So there's a total of 3 voices involved in this. One of them maybe a little younger, one of them a little older, and then the narrator himself. But done in a slow and thoughtful way, and yet with that lilting storytelling kind of style. Now here's a second one. Once upon a time, an old Indian revealed the truth of life to his grandson. There is a struggle going on in every human being, very much like the struggle of 2 wolves. One wolf represents evil, envy, jealousy, regret, selfishness, ambition, lies. The other wolf represents good, peace, love, hope, truth, kindness, faithfulness. The little Indian, touched to the core by his grandfather's words, thought for a few moments and then asked, "And what wolf wins in the end?" The old Indian smiled faintly and answered, "The wolf that you feed always wins." I love that story. It really is. Actually, both of those stories kind of tell the same story, don't they? About how when we feed anger and all of the negative things, that's what grows. That's what thrives. So at any rate, I love doing these because they do have some interesting philosophical angles to them. They're also good storytelling. They're visual. It gives you the opportunity to do a little bit with characters. In this case, I have a narrator, I have an old man, and I have a child. I don't have to go up like this to sound like a child. And I don't have to get all trembly in order to do an old man. You could just lean your voice a little bit one way, a little bit another way, and it has the desired effect. That's especially true with an audiobook where you don't want to totally burn the listeners out with really exaggerated characters that become almost grate on you after a while. Just edging your voice in one direction works for audiobooks, it works for stories like this, and it also works for those famous quotes that we've been talking about today. It's a technique you learn.
It's all in the wrist, man.
All right, let's move on. The head slapper thing. Check out this video. Hey, it's Dane Scott, the Geek Doctor and sometimes gardener. I'll admit to you that I was never very good at growing lawn and also always found it kind of boring, actually, over the years. So we've converted a lot of our lot into garden. At the time this was being recorded, our Honeycrisp apple tree was just loaded with ripe apples that are probably as good tasting as any tree produces that I've ever run across. Just wonderful apples. If you ever entertain the idea of planting an apple tree, I can recommend Honeycrisp. And I can share a little wisdom with you at the same time. If you're thinking about planting a tree, there's a popular old Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now, meaning that a tree takes time to mature and become, something more substantial. It doesn't happen overnight. I learned that well enough when I planted the Honeycrisp. It was 5 or 6 years before we really got much fruit off of it. But when it came, oh boy, was it good. Not just delicious, but beautiful fruit. Here's a picture I took the other day. So what's the point of all this? It's to kind of set up the stage for this particular head slapper tip, which I call Newton's apple. The story goes that Sir Isaac Newton was sitting under an apple tree when an apple fell on him, hit him in the head, and got him thinking. Thoughts of some gravity, apparently. Some Bad pun there. Well, something similar happened to me. When I came across this idea, it hit my head with about the same level of concussion and with about the same amount of gravity. And just as Newton may have eaten the apple that fell, I essentially kind of ate this apple too. I immediately tried the tip, this new idea that had struck me. I put it into immediate use. The first day I tried it, I earned an extra $50. The next day, another $50 and another $50. So $150 in 2 days. Within a month, I had earned an extra $400. Well, that's significant. That's a lot of groceries. That's a lot of rent money. That's a lot of insurance money. It's a nice amount of extra cash to put into retirement or save for a trip or something. Needless to say, I am very excited by what this head slapper is doing for me. But I also was a little bit sad. I've been on Fiverr for almost 4 years now, and at $400 a month, if I look back, that's nearly $5,000 extra a year I could have earned, or nearly $20,000 I could have earned over the entire time that I've been on Fiverr, if I'd only started with it right when I first got rolling. My Honeycrisp tree took 5 years to begin producing. It was worth the wait. The nice thing about this Head Slapper 4 is that there is no waiting. Nothing has to mature before you can take advantage of it. If you're doing some business on Fiverr already, either as a voiceover person or a video producer, that's really all that's required to start gathering this harvest. And it's low-hanging fruit. There's nothing really to this. I'm serious, it's very easy. And while we're at it, in Head Slapper 4, I've added a bonus, another tip. This is one that is actually also making me hundreds of extra dollars, and it will work for anyone with an active Fiverr gig. Doesn't matter even what you're selling. If you think you could use a few extra $100 every month, I encourage you to get Head Slapper 4. You can get it right now from thegigdoctor.com/headslappers. That's easy enough to remember. gigdoctor.com/headslappers. Please do yourself this favor. I guarantee you'll get your money back out of this and more. But if you don't, just let me know and I'll be happy to give you a full no questions asked refund. So either way, you're not out anything. And keep both the Head Slapper 4 tip as well as the bonus tip, courtesy of the Gig Doctor. So you really can't go wrong with this thing. I hope you'll click on it, order it, and I hope it goes great for you. Thank you. You can get Head Slapper 4 and the other 3 in a bundle for a special price. Today, I'm going to give you, if you order the bundle of all 4 videos, I'll give you a $25 discount. When you check out, just put in Gig Doc Discount. GIGDOCDISCOUNT, Gig Doc Discount when you check out at thegigdoctor.com. All right, that's it for today. Fun session, interesting stuff, and I'll be back with you again next time.
You give me a call.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.